I got an advice for young people listening to this. It's like, hey, go be an entrepreneur. Just don't don't put up in politics, right? So
You operate it like you design it. You design it like you operate it, based off of how you want it to perform. I am very concerned because of the fact that that a lot of young people or people coming in today don't want to take the time to learn the fundamentals because they claim, I don't have time to learn that. Well, if you don't have time to learn it, how are you going to effectively apply it?
Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen?
Patrick Mahomes.
All right. Who's going to win the Super Bowl this year, man?
Oh, shoot.
Just one week into the season.
1 week into the season, Kansas City Chiefs.
I think it's going to be tough. I mean, if they win, I'll invite you back to the show.
Disclaimer, the views are the guests alone, not those of the host or sponsors.
Welcome to a new episode of From Boots to Boardroom. Not every leader sits in a corner office. From Boots to Boardroom shares the journeys of those who power America, from the job site to the boardroom, leading with grit, tenacity, empathy, and vision. Hope you'll find the show to be educational, entertaining, eye-opening, and entrepreneurial. Presenting sponsor of the show is KYRO AI, digitize work and maximize profits. For more information, visit KYRO.ai. Today's guest is Reggie Comfort. Reggie was born and raised 30 miles north of Texas A&M University. He graduated from Calvert High School. He attended the University of Houston, graduated with a BS in Electrical Engineering in 1978. My friend, that was before I was born.
Thank you for that, Harry.
He received his professional engineering license from the state of Texas in 1983. Reggie interned at Houston Light and Power, the predecessor company to CenterPoint Energy, for 4 terms, and eventually worked for CenterPoint Energy for several years after that, immediately after graduating from college. During his storied career, Reggie worked in several areas of CenterPoint Energy: distribution engineering, substation construction, and he eventually retired as a director in February 2019. Reggie is currently with TRC Companies. Reggie Comfort, welcome to the show. I appreciate you taking your time to come to Boots to Boardroom.
Glad to be here, Harry.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, so let's get started here, right? So, I really want the listeners to get a feel for who the person is, who Reggie Comfort is, right? Give us a little bit of a background quickly of your origin story and how you got into the industry.
Well, as I said, I was born and raised in a little small community 30 miles north of Texas A&M, and I say that because people don't recognize my hometown. I grew up in that area, and I stayed there till I was 18, of course, and then came on to college. Both my parents were school teachers in the small community. My mother was third grade teacher, and my dad taught high school, and eventually he became elementary principal
Wow.
of the
Wow.
school over, that's about 40 years. And one of the things that my dad would always tell me was you got to have a good education so that you can get a good job. Now, of course, this was in the mid to late 60s when he was telling me this. And one thing he said is, whatever you do, don't be a school teacher, because they don't, your mother and I can make a decent living for you and brother and sister, but it's they don't pay well. Opportunities aren't all that great.
And things haven't changed 40, 50 years later.
Unfortunately, that's exactly right. So one day he was looking through the Houston Chronicle. That's the paper that we would get. They'd get that paper on the bus station, on the Greyhound bus every day coming from Houston. And the want ad section in those days would display all of the job openings and starting salaries. So he calls me over to his chair and he shows me the newspaper. He says, "Here," pointing toward engineers. Look at all this pages and pages of ads looking for engineers. That's what you need to do.
And when was this? Which year was this?
This is 1968. I don't
19
need to know how old you were, Harry. You weren't born then. That's all right. 1968.
1968. Okay.
We were at the height of the space program in those days. The Apollo program was going. I had a teacher that always wanted us to keep track of the activities of NASA. We cut out clippings and we would discuss them in our science class every week.
Yeah.
So I grew up thinking that, man, I'd like to design the instrumentation in these spaceships. That'd be nice. And that's kind of fitting toward electrical engineering. So that's what I said I wanted to do. So I knew sort of at an early age, I wanted to be an electrical engineer and designing panels for spaceships or airplanes.
Wow.
So, and I was looking at the ability to make a good living like my dad told me to do.
Yeah.
So that's what I had. That's what I kept. Um, and
Well,
uh,
that's truly a, I definitely did not know that, and obviously most listeners would not know that, right? So it's interesting to know, peel back the onions and go back early in your life to see how you pursued engineering, electrical engineering. So your dad had a role to play, obviously, and the NASA space program had a role to play. I mean, obviously, Houston was a major hub from an engineering standpoint, and so all these things culminated in you becoming an engineer, graduating of the University of Houston, I guess, right?
right,
Awesome.
right.
Awesome.
University of Houston was a large contributor of the NASA program at the time. When I got there and started going into the building, I mean, almost every professor was working on some project for NASA, control
Yeah.
systems, whatever. So I thought, programming, that was the thing that was going on at that time.
Got it. Okay. So you graduated out of college, and then during college, obviously you interned with CenterPoint Energy, or back then Houston Light and Power, right? And let's kind of stay in that time in your college, right? So how did you decide to intern for Houston Light and Power? Because that obviously had a huge role that played in you going full time to Houston Light and Power. So give us that story there.
It was a chance happening. It was almost the end of the freshman term. Uh, it was around April of that year, and I was in the dorms, and we had some guy, one of the guys, a couple of doors down, while we were just playing around and goofing off on a Saturday afternoon. He came in and said, "Man, I got to get ready to go to my interview." And I says, "What interview are you talking about? You're just a freshman." And he says, "Well, actually, we were going into our sophomore year." And he says, "Well, I'm getting ready to co-op or intern for this company." And it was set up at the time in the college that he was going through. And this guy he was a computer science major. So the computer science department had set up opportunities for students to intern. And they had a relationship. The university did, like a lot of universities, had relationships with a lot of industrial partners. And so I got that idea from him. So the next, on Monday morning, I went to the College of Engineering where I was enrolled in, and I inquired about the intern program, or what we called it in those days, cooperative education. So he sat me down, the administrator, and we went through my background and what my interests were and what my roles and responsibilities would be as an intern or co-op student. And he gave me a list of companies that I could go and intern with. And NASA wasn't on the list at the time, so I said, "Okay, well, what else is around?" And so it was either so there were utilities and there were gas companies, that you could have gone to work with, and for whatever reason, I picked Houston Light and Power Company. I was interested in generators also at that time, so I went and interviewed with them, and, well, next thing you know, I got a job offer to go to work for them that summer. And
Yeah.
that's how I started the program. It was just by
Wow.
chance.
Well,
Had that guy not come in, I wouldn't have known about the intern program. Uh, it was a
huh,
it was a great program then. The college was very supportive of, getting students interconnected with the areas that they were interested in. We had a lot of guys that interned at, Fluor, Brown& and Root, uh, and, those were long-lasting relationships. Some of them went on to work there like I did at HL&P, or some of them moved on if it didn't work out.
yeah.
So, I give credit to the school and, the, partnerships that they have with the local, industry leaders. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
how I got into it. And then
That's
after
great.
that, I just kept going back one department. For each term, I co-opted or interned in 4 different departments in engineering, and
Wh-
that's how I got to know them.
Who is that guy who helped you with that chance? Do you still keep in touch with him? Because I want to go and thank this guy, and the reason is simple. Because I'll tell you why. Because that chance played a role in helping me get a contract with CenterPoint Energy with Think Power
How
Solutions,
about
and
that?
then
How
with
about
KYRO.
that?
It still plays a role, my friend. So,
How about that? You know what? I talked about him recently with my old, dorm mate and, college roommate, and, his all I can remember his first name was Michael. He was from San Antonio. And shortly after that semester, we all kind of broke up and moved away, different dorms, or he moved off campus. I don't remember. I didn't keep up with him.
oh,
But yeah,
if he's listening, thank you, Michael. Right. So, it's good stuff. So that's a super great segue, right? So, let's get into your career. Houston Light and Power, and then obviously CenterPoint Energy. You've done a lot: distribution, substation, engineering side. For a time, substation engineering construction was together, so you were director there. Uh, you know, walk us through some of the most challenging aspects of your career at Centerpoint? Few key moments that absolutely stand out, right? For example, from my side, I worked with you at EEI, and we had breakfast one day, and that led to you trusting me to, introduce me to your folks, Eric Schenagel and Jeff Depart back in the day, and helping me get a contract and things like that. So that is really a game changing moment, right? So, what are some of the key moments in your career that you can help our listeners kind of educate them about your career progression and key aspects of your career?
well, one of the earliest things and one of the things that really helped me early on, and then later on in my career, was connecting with uh, one or two of the engineering leaders at that time. Um, You gotta understand the era that I was in. I graduated in the late '70s, 1978. Um, the, industry as well as my company was first they were going through an opportunity looking for opportunities to bring minorities into the program. And let's just say they were open to the idea. Well, not everybody was open to the idea. I mean, I got into the, company. I was very fortunate. When my last intern program, I really got along very well, and I learned a lot from this lead engineer. And he wrote a pretty good recommendation for me. And when I interviewed with them, the interviewer brought this up, and I got a job offer before I graduated from college. I had 2 semesters left because primarily due to the relationships of people that I developed with. But when I got to the company, I ended up working for a supervisor that were not used to people of my background. And as a result, I was not open to, even though I was there, he didn't give me a lot of opportunity to learn and grow. Fortunately, he got a job because he was also uh, like a square peg in a round hole there as well. He was an electrical guy, but he was really more mechanically based, and he got frustrated, and so he left. I got a new supervisor, and that area was one of the greatest and the best things that ever happened because this fellow that I got was brilliant. He understood the electrical system big time. He had just received his master's in electrical engineering. He had worked in the field. He understood the system. And he encouraged me to learn as much as I could about this business, learn as much as I could about what makes this place work electrically as well as uh, operationally as well as relationships wise. He always told me to take the initiative, take the bull by the horns. I will always remember that. And if you see something that needs to happen, go after it. Don't sit back and wait for someone else to do something. You do it. And he says that will always serve you well. Do your job. Do your job, and the rest will take care of itself. And
Interesting.
that's what I learned, and that's what I did. So, irregardless of attitudes that I may have experienced, it didn't matter because I was going after the task at hand. And by God's grace, I was able to make some successes. First thing I did was I grabbed everything that he had written and I read through them. I studied them. He encouraged me to go to the library, so I went out and got volumes of old articles. You don't learn a lot. You don't learn everything you need to learn in college, right, Harry?
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
learn it after you get into the industry. And so that's exactly what happened with me. He encouraged me to know your trade, and so that's what I did. I filled my coffers with old articles from the American Institute of Electrical Engineers, and then IEEE. He had written papers, so that's exactly what I endeavored to do. And what I was doing was preparing to go to the field to work because when you got to the field then and working with the line crews and working with customers, industrial as well as commercial customers, you had to know electrically, in theory at least, how this stuff is supposed to work. And that time with him really prepared me to do that.
Yeah.
Take the bull by the horn, take the initiative, learn as much as you can learn, and do your job.
Do your job.
And that,
You read that all the time about what Bill Belichick, the great Bill Belichick. I don't like the Patriots, but I'm
hmm
jealous of the championships they won. Right. That's what he used to say, apparently. Right. So let's go back to the late '70s. Obviously, people were not used to seeing people like you. Must have been difficult, obviously, right? I can only imagine because now I go to conferences. Now it's changing a little bit, but
it's
10, 15
changing a
years
little
back,
bit. Yeah.
yeah, 10, 15 years back, I used to stick out like a sore thumb. I turned that into an advantage, honestly, right? Everybody knows me just from my first name and things like that, right? So, what are some of the challenges that historically in the industry people like you faced, right? And African Americans and other minorities, and what are some of the things? I think you articulated that beautifully already, but how can we attract more people from different backgrounds to our really flourishing industry, especially in the age of AI? There's so much need out there. How can we attract more people to our industry?
Oh, that's a tough question, Harry. Um, I think it begins early on. I mean, that's what happened with me, right? I mean, the impetus to get going in this business came from an inspiration that I got at an early age. Um, And I think it has a great deal to do with. What I didn't mention was my school years. After my dad had had pointed the direction for my career at the time, I liked science, but I didn't care that much for math. And if you're an electrical engineer, it's all about the math. So I had a middle school math teacher that, bless her heart, she was a very nice lady, but she didn't know how to teach mathematics. So fortunately for me, when I got to high school, I had great teachers. I had an algebra one, algebra two, and analytic geometry teachers that turned the light on for me, and that just really invigorated my interest to keep moving and go into this, and it gave me confidence to go into the school and keep going. So it starts, I think, at that you got to have some direction and um, um,
Good
stimulation
teachers. I
at
mean,
an
honestly,
early age.
it's about good teachers opening up the world of
Yeah,
opportunities to
yeah,
everybody and exposing them how actually different jobs and different industries work ultimately, right? Those are
right.
the key
Right.
aspects.
So it starts with that, but then you got to get encouragement. So I tried to participate in situations where you go and you talk to the kids and you make them aware and you let them know what's available to do, and you
Yeah.
continue to encourage them because it's hard work. If you want to go to a field, every now and then you got a group of folks in the population out there that just catches the subject matter, not a problem. They hardly ever need to do any kind of studying. Gifted folks, well, wonderful, and we need them. But then you got guys like me that, okay, I need to work. If I'm going to understand this, I need to go at it and I need to be ruthless about it because this is what I need to advance.
Yeah.
And you continue to encourage them to do that. And the thing is, again, is I used to have this philosophy about, okay, when it's and it meant a lot to minorities in those days to be able to go in and get a white collar job, right? I said being an engineer is more than carrying a briefcase and putting on a three-piece suit. There had to be substance. So it gets back again to letting them know the importance of learning your trade.
Yeah.
So
Everyday grind at the end of the day.
everyday
Nah.
grind at the end of the day, and what is and that what matters is making a difference.
Yeah. Well,
I
everyday
think
grind and showcasing it to be in a cool way too, right? Because you got kids watching, basketball, football, soccer, all these kind of things, and then it's cool. But you got to also help them understand that hey, these guys are slinging the ball in the football field today, but it takes years and years of practice to be able to do that. Engineering is no different. At the end of the day, it's like reading and math and everyday grind. And then maybe one day you're wearing a coat and a suit and presenting in a conference. But it's at the end of the day, there's no difference between the everyday grind of anything you do in life, right?
it's hard work. It's hard work, but it has tremendous benefits. You can be proud of that. You can work toward. So it's a message, but I guess what I'm saying is not always a popular message, but it will resonate with those that need to it'll resonate with. That's all it is to it. Some kids don't like to worry about that. They don't want to work. They want to be able to get out there and do the easy thing.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
success is not easy, right, Harry?
100%. I
I
can
mean,
tell you that.
yeah,
100%. Right. So,
yeah.
but chance plays a role, and meeting people. Absolutely, I do believe in that in the sense that you got to know when you're getting lucky, and you got to take advantage of that. Right. So let's get into uh uh Sadie, safety, the reliability aspects of our wonderful industry. We've invested, I'm just looking at my notes here, we've invested $1.3 trillion in the grid since 2014, about $178 billion just in 2024, right? And we're on track to invest another $1 trillion through 2029. Now, obviously, part of it is because of the you know advent of AI, how power is just being consumed so much, and And there's obviously the storm aspects of it. You have to build back stuff that has been broken down by storms and things like that. But resiliency metric remain the same, meaning 6 hours of outages on an average by customers, right? For customers across the U.S., sure, it does change regionally, with or without storm. All these things does change. But what's your take on how and what can be done to improve reliability, resiliency, and affordability of the grid as we kind of continue to invest heavily in our beautiful grid?
Well, make sure that I stay on point with this, Harry, um, when I talk. This whole thing about circuit performance measurement started in my career in the mid to late 80s. What happened over time was technology changed uh, with for the end user, and that meant that equipment sensitivity continued to grow and get more and more uh, responsive to what was going on with the power grid. Back in the 60s and the 50s, I mean, you could have all kind of things going on, and it was anticipated that, okay, well, yeah, I'm going to have a if the lights go out and you're reading the paper up under the lamp, okay, fine, and then we'll do something else. No big deal. In fact, when I grew up, it was common for like twice a year, my little hometown would completely lose power during a thunderstorm. And um, it was anticipated that, okay, well, they'll be back tomorrow to fix it. So we went to bed early. No big deal. But today, that's certainly not the case. And people's expectations have grown. Equipment is far more sensitive. And so the importance of having a strong, durable power system has grown as well. And it's so important that we stick with that. The SAIDI thing was, at least for CenterPoint, our Houston Light and Power Company, was adopted by, during the deregulation. That's the system average interruption duration index, where it looks at every year an average customer is going to see so many minutes of outages. That was developed by the state of Texas, or at least in Texas. Of course, it's used nationally, but Texas has this requirement for all utilities to report on their circuit performance using SAIDI as a measurement goal. So, and they have the 10% worst circuit list, which says that uh, we are to present to them 10% of our circuits that are worst performers, and to make sure that if the next year when we report, they better not be on the list again. You need to
And
go
this
ahead
is you.
and get that
So
addressed.
you guys. I mean, when I say you guys, the utilities report to ERCOT, right, or the state of Texas.
In the state of Texas, yes, the IOUs. Now, municipals and co-ops, they could adopt if they want, but the IOUs were put on that mandate that they had to do.
And you
So they
report it to ERCOT or to the
no,
state
you
of Texas
report it to the commission,
Commission? Okay,
Public
okay,
Utility Commission,
got it.
right?
PUC.
And
Okay, got
the
it.
commission evaluates. So you had a system SAIDI that you have to maintain, and if you don't maintain that, you are subject to penalty. So they put that on us during the time that during 1999, or at the beginning of deregulation, because because the concern was when we deregulated, utilities would no longer put money back into the system. So it's so important now that we do that. So what used to be okay is not okay anymore for reliability purposes, but also for regulatory purposes. Now, at the same time this was going on, we were trying to figure out, well, how are we going to do this? Because when this was introduced, I think Houston Light and Power Company had somewhere probably around 11 to 1,200 circuits. So that's 120 of those circuits have to be the worst performers, so they picked the worst 120. So the idea is that you had to be on alert to make sure that we have a plan to improve these circuits. So we had to come up with methodologies and ways to capture where the problems were, and where we call was our root cause analysis approach. You had to find out what the issues were. You had to catalog those issues, and you had to come up with methods to correct those issues, which meant that you needed to have a trained eye looking at this. And once you understood what the problems were, then you needed to make sure that they were taken care of in a very organized and very um, um, efficient manner. Otherwise, you wouldn't get to do the work. So a lot had to do with understanding the problem, focusing on the solutions, and getting the solutions done in the field. That took organization. That takes effort, and it takes, again, knowing what you're looking at and looking for. And it's been a challenge because for various reasons that I go into. I
Give
think
me the
one of
top.
the issues.
Give me the top 2 reasons.
Top 2, Harry. Challenge number 1 is being able to maintain the focus and getting it done. Organization, the plan that the company puts forth to do this work. Who's going to do it? How is it going to be done? And what methodology are you using for work management to get it done? Is that I'll put that into one category. Challenge number 2 is the number of folks or people that are actually going to do the work. When we started out with reliability concerns back in 1999, we had a lot of guys in the field that wore Houston Light and Power Company shirts, and they were in trucks. We had engineers that were looking at this issue that we were trying to get after and do. And it was primarily an engineering construction focus. But as time went on, the number of people in the field diminished because of various reasons. It was conflicting goals here. I'm trying to reduce my O&M, but I'm trying to at the same time maintain reliability. And they said, no big deal. We can reduce the guys in the field, but we can backfill them with contractors. Well, that's easier said than done.
Yeah.
And then the other piece is, well, who's looking at this? Who's managing the work? And when you and so you have the issue of that comes up. If you bring in people that are not familiar with what you're trying to do,
you can hire contractors to manage contractors.
you can have contractors to manage contractors, or you can get, even internally, Harry. Sometimes you can get business majors and communication majors to come in. All of a sudden, you give them operations jobs.
Yeah.
And say, now you need to take care of this, because you're grooming people, but you're bringing them in the areas that really require a more focused look that they don't have. They don't have the background. And I'm sorry to say that happens a lot.
Yeah. That's what you said is actually interesting, right? Because we'll kind of touch on this and then go to the next topic here. But essentially, you have the need to reduce O&M and at the same time maintain reliability and the resiliency. So you hire contractors, and essentially to keep the contractors on your projects, you have capital projects which become a little bit more expensive because you got to get these guys on as consultants. You're wearing the TRC shirt out there. And then that in turn affects affordability of the system. There's a balance that we need to drive in the industry. Is that a fair way to look at it?
That's a fair way to look at it, I believe.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving cogs in this process. You got contractors, engineering contractors, that certainly know how to address the issue, and as long as you give them a good scope of work to do this. And then you got to give them timelines, and you got to give them some leeway to get things done.
Scope, schedule, and budget. But then, to your earlier point, a communications major can't necessarily give that scope, schedule, and evaluates the budget.
Well,
Right?
I mean, it's going to be an effort, Harry. You got capable people, no question about that. They're good, well-meaning people, but uh, where is the emphasis? Where is the drive? You got to keep your focus going on with what you're trying to achieve, and that goes all the way from the people trying to maintain the work internally, but also works into the procurement group as well. You got contracts, you got things that need to be executed, and if they're not done in a timely fashion, if the focus goes away, if the contractor that you're trying to hire starts to get um, confusing guidance from the company that they're working for, it it can all sort of take away from this massive effort that we're trying to get
Yeah,
done.
fair point.
It's focus and then work execution, because a lot of times what will happen is I have a circuit that I've already identified the problems, and I've determined what needs to be done, and but by the time I get around to actually doing the work, I got new problems because I didn't the problems that I was trying to solve in the first place didn't get done because the work didn't get executed, and now I got new stuff on top of that to deal with. I
Yes,
got to
no,
go back and reevaluate because I couldn't get the work done on time.
I think it's a good point. So challenge is the focus. Number one, challenge is focus. Number two is actually doing the work, executing the work, having competent people to do the work. And I believe this is where our common friend, your former protege at CenterPoint, Eric Easton, that's his current role, right? VP of grid investment and strategy. That's pretty much what he's doing, is so that CenterPoint at least can invest in the grid in a manner where the balance between reliability, resiliency, and affordability is met. And as you know, he's doing a phenomenal job. So let me get to the next topic, if I may. Right? We talked about AI and the impact on the grid. But where do you see AI for a guy who's been in the industry since 1800? Where do you see AI? Where do you see?
Wow, man.
Where do you see? Where do you see AI making a big impact in the next 10, 15, 20 years?
Oh, that's another. Well, yeah, well, I was a relay engineer for a long time, Harry. And when and what a relay engineer does is he anticipates a problem that will happen inside of a substation or on a distribution line. And then he says, and then they go through different scenarios. If this happens, we need to do this. If this happens, you need to do that. So you learn through relaying, protective relaying, and programming the devices on what to look for. If you see this, if you see that, if you see that, then you do this. If you see that, if you see that, if you see that, then you do this, not that. That's, to me, what AI is all about. It is an establishment of rules that you come up with, and you teach a system to identify what those rules are, and then to execute based off of that. But it takes a person to be able to understand that up front before they can establish these rules that the machine will utilize.
Yeah.
So if a person, but again, it takes a person to understand it. If you try to come in and use an AI before understanding it, then you're going to potentially misapply a scheme to do what you wanted it to do, what you think you wanted it to do, because you didn't program it right. And the reason you didn't program it right is because you didn't understand what was going on to begin with. The reason you didn't understand what was going on to begin with is because you didn't take the time to learn it. So in one way, AI is going to be tremendous in that it can help us come to conclusions and affect solutions much quicker. But in another way, I am very concerned because of the fact that that a lot of young people or people coming in today don't want to take the time to learn the fundamentals because they claim, I don't have time to learn that. Well, if you don't have time to learn it, how are you going to effectively apply it? Does
yeah.
that make sense, Harry?
Yeah, no. Actually, it's good. So so in the way in which you look at it, it's AI is going to be both a positive as well as something we got to look at cautiously. But it's going to be here. It is here,
It's
and
here,
yeah, it is
and
here.
it's great stuff.
Yeah,
But the people but be careful how you use it. Don't let it substitute for the general understanding of how things work and what needs to happen. Because what if it breaks down? What if it makes the wrong decision? How are you going to correct it? It's sort of
yeah.
like the calculators. Okay, so when before calculators, Harry, we had slide rules. That was one of the first things that I learned how to operate when I got to my first class in engineering back in the 1880s, as you would say.
Yeah.
So we didn't have calculators there. So calculators came about the same time I was in college. By the time I graduated, TI had come up with this SR50A programmable calculator, and HP had calculators as well. But they were helping us compute. Now you got calculators later on that could, if you were trying to come up with some means to draw a graph and you needed to come up with calculations to be able to do that, the dang computers draw a graph for you and everything.
It's
They,
interesting.
they,
Interesting you say that because the audio listeners can't look at it, but this is the calculator that I use pretty much for my PE exam, right?
so what is that one, Harry?
It is a TI 36X.
A 36X. It's
Yeah,
got a display based off of what you punch in. Now show us a new calculator.
it's interesting. I was about to get there because my first son is in 7th grade. I bought him a calculator before the school year, and I was telling him, you know, you're using a more advanced calculator in 7th grade than what I currently use today, what I use to pass my PE exam. Right? You're right. It's totally nuts as to how things have evolved, and you got to get your fundamentals right. No doubt about it. From that standpoint, so that's
Mm,
great. So go ahead.
No, that was it. That's the old guy giving his deal. I applaud it, but I'm concerned that people are not going to take the time. They're going to even take less time to learn how things work. And if we have a bunch of people walking around that don't understand how things work because they know all they can do is push a button, it's not the right. It's going to get us in trouble if you
Yeah.
understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I know. Now I want to get into the passion aspect of Reggie Comfort that I know, right? People have told me at CenterPoint that when you were at CenterPoint, you used to mow your lawns, and then you see something on the circuit, or you had an idea, you call them, leave a voicemail, you've acknowledged that yourself. Now you're walking your dogs, and you see a circuit, you see an issue, you kind of call the hotline, I guess, and let people know. Obviously, that shows passion, dedication, and to make sure that the company that you work for and the community is taken care of, right? I mean, really, in many ways, you're taking care of reliability at a personal level, right?
Right.
So, tell us about that, and what is the advice for young people that you would give those who hear the story about you?
Wow. I think it goes back to uh, the early input that I got from one of my true mentors. Uh, uh, this is an asset that we're responsible for. We design it, we operate it, and we maintain it. He had this little snippy thing. You build it like you operate it like you design it. You design it like you operate it, based off of how you want it to perform. So, uh, he told me one time, own the wires.
Hmm.
Own the wires that depend that deliver the product. And that's the attitude that I took. I had 3 years working in the field as a young engineer after I went through the uh, the learning process, and I learned so much out there. But as a result, I took I took an interest, and I took responsibility for making sure that the system was operating within the parameters that it was designed to operate in, and that stuck with me. If we And it also let me see what could be done to improve things and what should be stopped to improve things. And I always used to say, if I ever got into a position of responsibility, I am going to look to work to implement some of these things that I see and the problems that exist. And that was one of the things that kept trying to drive me to try to go higher in the organization. When I get there, or if I ever get there, these are some of the things that I'm going to put in place to make happen. An example, we had a engineering planning department that goes through the motions of laying out a new circuitry, understanding what the loads are, modeling the loads, and looking at it from the perspective of what they used to call balanced three-phase load conditions, everything nice and perfect. But then we had an operating department, which was me, that actually had to go out and operate that stuff after it was built the way that the planning department told us to build it. So there were changes that needed to be implemented over time. There were things that needed to be incorporated as we were out there trying to operate the system. We would turn around and give that information to the planning department, but all they cared about was balanced load flow. Look, it ought to work after we do this. Don't worry about it. And so the the planning people wouldn't always get and take into account the things operations was telling them.
Yeah.
So Harry, one of the first things I did when I became manager of distribution engineering, I made it a requirement that the planners would send their preliminary plans through operations to look at and review, and that operations would give them feedback at that time on dealing with problems that were occurring operationally that they didn't see. And they would not issue a plan until everyone had an opportunity to tie into it and buy into it. I made them incorporate some of the things that we needed to have done.
So
that was one of the changes.
Yeah, you essentially bridge the gap between planning,
Exactly.
engineering, and
Exactly.
operations,
Exactly.
which is super important at the end of the day.
I can't, and I know we're probably running out of time. And I was working in system protection, doing protective relaying work, and a lot of things that we had to do in protective relaying fed into getting a substation built and getting it done. So I had the electrical systems people giving feedback to the substation engineering people on how to size relays, what the panels ought to look like, what the programming ought to be, on and on and on. The problem is they were out of sync. And when the substation people got time to build or design a substation, they asked for the systems people to give them feedback. Well, systems people wouldn't do that because they were busy handling operational issues. And then when they finally got around to it, the panel is already built. The relay panel or what the rack's already built. Now they come in and want to make changes because they were out of sync. Well, when I became manager of substation engineering and system protection, I made the system protection people to stop and look and give the feedback to the substation folks before they started their design, so that it would be incorporated and changed, and we wouldn't be doing rework. So that's some of the problems that I saw when I was working these different areas. But when I got to be in leadership, I addressed them.
Interesting, because Eric Easton, Wes Paxton, and these two guys were in engineering and construction respectively. I worked with those two guys and worked on exactly one of the issues that they had with the panels coming in, how there's lack of communication and whatnot. I mean, the program that we put together brought ops and engineering together every quarter, right? Lessons learned, brought standards into place as to how you can actually improve standards based on feedback from engineering as well as operations. And if I remember my numbers right, the cost went down by 41%, and and the quality went up by about the same 40 or 45%, something like that, within a period of 1 or 2 years. And we actually presented that. These are real numbers, by the way. We presented that CenterPoint in Think Power when I was back in the day there, in KYRO. We presented that at SEE, EEI, and maybe IEEE, I don't know. But we presented the in different conferences, so I know exactly the issues that you're talking about. So let's kind of go to one final question before we go to rapid fire, right? For young people who's just starting out in their career, and even people who've been a few years in the industry, what is the greatest setback you've had in your career? Lessons learned, and what can others learn without doing the same mistakes?
Well, one I got disappointments in that I can relate to and talk about that I can elaborate on. One of my assignments when they sent me, they came and got me and told me they wanted me to go and manage substation engineering and construction. The VP knocked on the door of my other VP, and Reggie's got the relay protection background. He worked in substation. I need him to come manage my substation engineering and construction on. So I went. The VP got me in the office and says, we need to work on the construction folks and do everything we needed to do to make them as efficient as contractors. And this is before we started contracting out substation construction. He says, you need to do what you can do to drive cost out and also improve efficiencies. So I started on that effort around September of 2002. We weren't we needed outages, so outage management had to be taken care of too, because we weren't requesting outages to work on these substations in a timely and organized fashion. So I had taken a class in project management and resource allocation at a graduate level as a post-baccalaureate work. And I had this book on how to actually model work processes. And so I called some guys in, and make a long story short, we began to model our work. What were the steps required? We actually did a critical path method to look at various types of work that was repeatable, how to add a new power transformer, how to increase or add new circuits, what are the steps that you take. Based off of that, we were able to come up with a good start and stop work duration. And also we could predict when the outages would be needed and what the duration of those outages would be. We put that system in place, and after 1 year, and a lot of people cursing at me, we got it done, and we were able to instill in the pride of the workers that, by gum, if we did it this way, no contractor could touch us. And we were just as efficient or more efficient than the competition. That's how we viewed it in those days. So we got everybody going. We got everybody excited. We got the crews excited and energized. And on January 1st, we launched. January 1st, 2004, we launched the new model. And everybody was giving each other high fives and, yeah, we can do this. We can get this done. About 6 months into it, I get a new boss because my VP told his boss that we were driving cost out of the business. We were doing what we needed to do. And no thanks, I'm not going to lay off anybody like what you're asking everybody else to do. We're not doing that in transmission substation. Well, they got my VP's boss upset. So he sent in a guy that worked for me, and Harry, he said one of the things we're going to do after he had been there a month is we're going to outsource all this construction. I said, you're going to do what? We're going to outsource all the construction. He repeated it. And I said, do you have any idea the work that we put into revamping this group? He didn't know, and he didn't care. All he was there to do was to do what my VP said that we weren't going to do, and that is get rid of these guys on the dock. Harry, Harry, that hurt me to the core.
I know I'm laughing here, but that is nuts, honestly. I mean, that's how organizations work, unfortunately, right? Everybody has agenda, there's politics, and it's like you work
Exactly.
2 years and it's like, you know what? I don't care, man. I got to do what my boss is asking me to
Yeah,
do.
because the senior VP is mad at my VP because he wouldn't outsource. He comes down and he completely does away with all the work and all the activity and all the effort, and no one cared. And all my so anyway, I had to regroup, Harry, because I need I still needed a job. I needed to work, and we had redone engineering to support construction.
Yeah.
And so I had to regroup and pivot and start talking to contractors quickly because I had a schedule to put in place. Fortunately, I could still lay the job out and determine the outages and set the schedule. They didn't
Whether
take
you
me
like
long,
them or not, you got to
whether you
work.
liked them or not. So that was one of the most major setbacks
Yeah.
in
Interesting.
in
What
in
is the
my.
lessons learned there? I mean, what can you share with the young person coming up? It's like, hey, deal with the politics of companies.
That's exactly the situation. That's exactly what you have to be able to do. Uh, because what's the alternative?
Yeah.
What's the
Yeah.
alternative? You just walk away.
Yeah.
You
Start
still got so much invested. The
start
people, when you do a
Hey,
thing
you know
like
what?
that,
I got an advice for
what?
young people listening to this. It's like, hey, go be an entrepreneur. Just don't don't put up with politics, right? So
Well, that works, Harry. That works. At least now you call the shots, right?
all
But
right.
that goes on all the time in major corporations. You got fighting at the upper levels. You've got it. It's a part of it, and people are constantly having to deal with new people coming over them with different agendas, different whatever, and you've you got a job to do, and you
Yeah.
need to do that job. You have
Fair
that
enough.
choice. So,
Awesome. Listen, let's get to rapid fire. Are you ready to go? Where's that? I'm not seeing you sweat yet. I mean, where's the traditional Reggie kind of rubbing his head? I'm not seeing that
oh,
yet.
Reggie Rubbin, where'd you get that from? Where did you get that
I've
from?
seen you,
You've
man.
been talking to people too many times.
I've seen you. Anyway, all right. Um, Pro sports, college sports.
Pro sports, Kansas City Chiefs football.
Man, you're more specific about that. All right.
Yeah.
Um,
College sports, I'm going to still cheer for my University of Houston Cougars.
Got it. Got it. They're a good team to cheer for. Basketball, they've got a pretty good team there.
And basketball, of course,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're right. So I know your wife is into or was into refing for basketball,
Yes,
right? So that's great. So favorite Super Bowl. The Chiefs. How many have they won? Three Super Bowls in the last 5 years, something like that. Is that right?
I think I know they won 2, maybe they won 3.
They won three.
Of course they lost last year.
Yeah, two before that, and
But
then one couple of years before that. So three in 5 years, not bad.
3 and 5 years, but I want to go all the way back to the Dallas Cowboys and the Pittsburgh Steelers. That was before you were born too. But
95.
no, 1979.
Oh my God, that's the steel curtain, right?
Steel Curtain, they beat the Cowboys big. They couldn't do them. I mean, Pittsburgh dominated. It was a good game.
Interesting. Favorite head football coach.
Favorite head football coach. I'd like to say it was Jack Pardee.
Interesting.
Jack Pardee was the old Houston Oilers coach before they blew up and destroyed themselves in 1993.
Interesting. So this was the Warren Moon era
That was
of
a Warren Moon
Oilers.
era. But Jack Pardee, he came in and changed a bunch of stuff.
Got it.
He couldn't help it that the team did what they did. I mean, he put everything in place, but
Got it. I know the answer, but let me ask you anyway. Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen?
Patrick Mahomes.
All right. Who's going to win the Super Bowl this year, man?
Oh shoot.
Just
Who's going
1 week into the season.
1 week into the season? Kansas City Chiefs.
I think it's going to be tough. I mean, if they win, I'll invite you back to the show.
They got a running game. They got a running game now. If
You know,
they got their running back there, if he will warm up and start giving Mahomes more of a combination threat from the backfield, he can do his thing.
yeah,
So that's what I'm thinking. Anyway, I
I've got,
could be wrong, of course, right?
yeah, it's true. I've got Mahomes in my fantasy football. He's my quarterback, so he better do well, right? So,
Yeah.
so Travis Kelce or Taylor Swift?
What?
Taylor Swift or Travis Kelce?
What are you asking? Who do I?
Who do
What?
who do you root for?
Well, there are a couple, Harry. I root for both of them. I hope it works.
Okay, all right. So you're. I'm going to give you a new position of responsibility, Reggie. You're the mayor of Houston, the great city, Houston, Texas, for 1 day, just 1 day, right? What are you going to do to address any issues that you think is out there?
I'm gonna go and have a heart-to-heart with Lena Hidalgo, the county judge, and come up with a city and county plan on dealing with the top 5 issues, working together. I'm not going to be political about that. I think it's ridiculous that the two leaders are not working as well as they had in the past. So that's my first. I gotta, that's the other thing to tell people, and that I learned is you got to make sure you're collaborating with your team members. That
I
you
think,
got to work
honestly,
together.
you can get the job done here. I'll tell you why. Because if you were able to bring engineering and construction together and planning together, I think you can you can bring these two guys together.
Well, it's easy when they work for you, Harry. Right?
That is true.
It is easy when they work for you. You will come in with this is how we do it.
Yes,
That
that is
based
true.
off of an old song from the 90s. This is how we do it.
Got it. What final question for you. You're Reggie Comfort is U.S. president for a day.
Oh gosh.
What are you
US
going to do, my friend?
What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Oh gosh, Harry. One of the things that's on my radar now is I am going to propose vaccinations and science that that will help the American people. We need a healthy environment, and we need a healthy group of people to be able to do the daily work. So I'm going to promote that. I'm going to be out in front. I'm going to be saying that it's important, starting with our children, and it's important with the workforce. We all saw what happened when we couldn't work, when we had to go off somewhere. What could you imagine? Look at how the economy suffered, and we're still dealing with that. You asked me for one thing, Harry. That's one of the things I do. I got so many of them.
I know you too.
I'd like, yeah, give me that job for like a couple of weeks, Harry. I'm gonna need more than 1 day to straighten this stuff out. And we're gonna do what I always say. We're gonna do what makes sense. We're not gonna do stupid for stupid, right? Some people, we're gonna do what makes sense.
That is good. That is good.
Anyway,
My
you
friend.
asked.
That's good. All right, my friend, Reggie Comfort. I deeply, deeply appreciate you coming on the show. And honestly, I say this to you privately, and now this is going to be public. Honestly, I owe a lot to you. You trusted a young man back in 2013, gave an opportunity when you were in position of responsibility at CenterPoint. And I grabbed it. I took some notes here. If somebody told you to grab the bull by the horns, I grabbed the bull by the horns.
You took the initiative.
I know.
Right? The things that you were saying when we talked, made sense. I liked what you were saying. You took the initiative, and danged if you didn't do it.
I know. And you know what? Now, both companies I founded, one I still run, have a contract with CenterPoint, Think Power Solutions, and KYRO AI. So we're still, thanks to the college, darn buddy of yours, Michael. Thank you, Michael. I'm at CenterPoint Energy. You take care, my friend.
All right, Harry. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, sir.
All right. Take care.
Coming up next on From Boots to Boardroom.
The road to success and greatness is littered all along the way with great strategy that just doesn't get implemented. It's about implementation. It's about getting it across the finish line.
100%. It's about execution.
In the next episode, From Boots to Boardroom, we sit down with Brian McFarland, who brings 40 years of experience in the electric utility industry. We talk about Brian's career journey from his early days in East Texas to leadership roles at major utilities and management consulting, eventually leading utility engineering. The conversation dives into the challenges and opportunities driving the industry today, from AI-driven change and the massive build-out of data centers to the ongoing need for reliability and the critical role of both technical expertise and entrepreneurship. Stay tuned.